Have you ever felt the pressure to be someone you're not, even in the smallest ways? Now, amplify that feeling to an entire existence. We're exploring the reality of individuals who completely abandon their own identity to inhabit a fabricated one, and the unbearable burden that comes with living a lie so profound, it devours the very soul. Prepare to question what truly defines us. Some people believe envy is loud, that it looks like hatred. It sounds bitter. But envy is quiet. It doesn't scream. It repositions you until one day you realize you're standing slightly outside your own life. It was the same for a woman who did not lose her joy. She lost her place. The quiet comparison. She did not hate anyone. She smiled when others spoke. She congratulated them sincerely. She stood close enough to belong, but she noticed. She noticed how some people were listened to before they finished speaking, how some laughter came easily, how certain lives seemed to fit their owners. She told herself this noticing was harmless. Curiosity, she called it. Awareness. But noticing became wishing, and wishing became wanting. At gatherings, she found herself watching instead of joining. The woman whose voice never had to rise to get what she needed. The woman whose home felt warm even from the doorway. The woman who walked as if she trusted the ground beneath her. She did not envy their possessions. She envied their position, where they stood in the world. She would return home afterward and sit in the quiet, replaying small moments she had almost been part of. Comparisons. She did not say my life is bad. She said something far more dangerous. My life could have been better. At night, she lay awake imagining different versions of herself. Fantasies, adjustments. If she had spoken differently, if she had chosen differently, if she had more. She told herself this was reflection, self-improvement. But reflection slowly replaced presence. And slowly, she began standing outside her own life, watching her fantasies the way she watched others. I noticed her, in the pause between conversations. She never saw me, but I saw how her eyes lingered on what she was not, and how rarely they rested on what she was. She still laughed, still worked, still lived, not knowing her life is about to be reassigned. The offer. The room was smaller than she remembered, the kind of place objects wait to be forgotten. Mirror stood against the wall, its surface clouded. She stepped closer, and when she looked into it for the first time, she did not yet know she was about to make a trade. At first, the reflection behaved. It copied her movements, her breathing, her stillness. Then it didn't. The woman in the glass smiled a moment before she did. "You look tired," the reflection said. The voice was not sound. It arrived inside her thoughts. She staggered back half a step. "You've been watching others for a long time," the reflection continued. "I can show you what you're missing." She shook her head. "You're not real." The reflection tilted its head, studying her. "Neither is comparison," it replied. "Yet you live there often." She swallowed. "What do you want?" she asked. The reflection smiled. "To offer," it said. "One day." Her heart quickened. "One day," the reflection repeated. "You may live the life of anyone you envy, fully, freely, as if it had always been yours. Images pressed at the edge of her mind, rooms she had never entered, voices that spoke her name with ease, a version of herself that fit where she stood. "And the price?" she asked. The reflection's eyes did not flicker. "Something small," it said. "Something you won't miss at first." She hesitated, long enough to feel the weight of wanting. "What if I don't choose?" she asked. "Then you will continue as you are," the reflection answered kindly. Watching, she looked at the glass. "One day," she said. The reflection nodded. "Choose who?" No one is ever forced to make a trade. They only need to believe it is fair. She chose the woman with wealth, out of hunger, out of curiosity. If comfort erased longing, she thought, perhaps peace would follow. The mirror accepted the choice without ceremony. When she opened her eyes, silk lay against her skin. Light spilled across polished floors. Gold trimmed everything that could hold it. Servants waited. They smiled quickly, then watched her hands. At first, she mistook it for respect. Then she noticed the pattern. A servant lingered near the doorway, praise ready with an open palm. The guest laughed too loudly, then paused. A friend leaned close, offered warmth, then glanced down at the purse at her side. Every kindness had a cost, every compliment with a receipt. She tested it and offered nothing. The room cooled, laughter thinned, voices dulled, faces rearranged themselves into patience. So she paid. Warmth returned instantly. It was not affection, it was a transaction. She walked through halls filled with people who knew her value down to the smallest coin, and nothing else. No one asked how she was. They asked what she needed done. Friendship rented, loyalty renewed daily, silence bought in bulk. At a long table for many, she ate alone not because no one came, but because everyone waited to be compensated. By evening, she realized something worse than loneliness. If she lost her wealth, she would lose everyone. She thought of her own life, of conversations that lingered without payment, of help given without accounting, and the reflection, wondering what the cost will be. She woke in her own bed before dawn. The room felt unchanged. Something sat wrong in her chest. The mirror waited. "How was it?" it asked. She hesitated. "Expensive." The reflection smiled. "And the price?" "You said it would be small." "It was," the reflection replied gently. Later that day, she spoke during a conversation. Her words were heard, then ignored. They now judged her by her wealth. Her words carried no currency. She fell quiet, searching her pockets for something she hadn't realized she was losing. This is how the mirror works. It teaches you what things cost, then makes sure you remember. The second borrowed life. She told herself it was only curiosity, just the need to understand. The cost from the first trade felt abstract, manageable, easy to dismiss. After all, she still lived. So when the mirror spoke again, she didn't hesitate. "One more day," the reflection said softly. "Choose." She didn't weigh the price. She didn't ask what would be taken next. She chose the woman everyone admired. She woke to attention. It followed her before she moved. Eyes lingered, voices softened, doors opened without request. Beauty, she learned quickly, was not a gift. People spoke to her constantly, yet rarely about her. Compliments arrived in clusters, overlapping, losing their value. "You're stunning. You must hear this all the time. People must do anything for you." They never waited for her answer. Admiration filled the air so completely there was no space left for honesty. She tried to speak once, to redirect the conversation, to ask a question of her own. The listener smiled, nodded, then returned to describing her. She laughed out of habit. Inside, she felt strangely unseen. Attention pressed in from all sides, but it never landed. By afternoon, she noticed how carefully people avoided disagreement with her, how quickly they agreed, how easily they disappeared when she showed anything inconvenient. She was desired, not trusted. She was praised, not known. That evening, alone despite the crowd, she understood something the mirror had never said aloud. Being admired did not mean being accompanied. She returned at nightfall, woke up in her room again. The mirror waited, patient. Her reflection looked pleased, not triumphant, just expectant. "And?" it asked. She opened her mouth to answer. Nothing came out, not silence. Sound still existed, but the words failed to organize themselves. Her thoughts reached her tongue and scattered with anxiety. She tried again, and nothing changed. She told herself it was exhaustion. The moment passed. Later that day, she stood among others and listened, nodding when appropriate, smiling when expected. Not able to engage, people spoke around her, not with her. Watching her adjust her posture slightly, as if alignment alone could bring her back into the conversation. It felt as though her appearance or disappearance would not make a difference in that moment. She did not yet regret her choice. She returned to the mirror that night out of need to find the life that will match hers. And once curiosity is fed, it rarely knows when to stop. The life that was supposed to fit. Revised to show the danger of love without boundaries. By the time she returned to the mirror, curiosity had hardened into purpose. She told herself the earlier lives had failed because they were wrong for her, too transactional, too hollow. She was no longer chasing ease. She was searching for the life that finally matched her. The reflection listened without judgment. "Choose again," it said. She chose the woman who was loved, not admired, not rich, but loved. She woke beside warmth, a presence that noticed every movement, every breath. The room carried the signs of closeness taken to excess, shared routines without space, attention without rest. At first, it felt comforting. Here, she did not have to earn affection. Here, she was never alone. But love, when it has no boundaries, does not stay gentle. It watches too closely. It listens for changes in tone. It searches for meaning in pauses that mean nothing. She noticed how often reassurance was needed, how silence became suspicion, how every distance, even a small one, felt like abandonment. Questions multiplied. "Are you all right? Did I say something wrong? Why are you quiet?" She felt herself adjusting constantly, softening words, hiding thoughts, managing emotions that were not hers to manage. Love had become vigilance. Care had turned into control without intent. By midday, she realized the truth she hadn't expected. Love without limits does not feel safe. It feels unstable. And instability breeds paranoia. Just endless watching and being watched. She returned her chest tight. Back in her own body, the world felt strangely distant. The mirror waited. "Well?" the reflection asked. She tried to answer quickly, but her voice lagged. Later, she stood among others in her own life. She spoke. Someone acknowledged her kindly, then continued without pause. No malice, no argument, just movement that seemed to not wait for her. She spoke again. The conversation flowed around her, wondering why she became paranoid, watching her recognize the pattern. The mirror was not teaching her that love cures everything. It was teaching her that love without boundaries consumes attention and leaves no room for the self. She felt unloved, disregard. That night, she returned to the mirror once more, not believing the next life would be perfect, but unwilling yet to accept that no borrowed life could save her. The life you deserve. She stood before the mirror longer than she ever had, tired. "I want the truth," she said. "Take me to the life I deserve." The reflection did not smile. "And the life you envy?" it asked. She nodded. "Yes, take me there." The mirror darkened. She woke to a room she recognized immediately. The walls, the air, the light. It was her home, not as it was now, as it had been before the measuring, before wishing, before she learned how to stand outside herself. She stood younger in this place, lighter, not because life was easier, but because it had not yet been compared. She watched herself move through the day, speaking freely, walking without thinking, laughing without checking. Nothing extraordinary happened. That was the shock. No wealth, no admiration, just presence. She felt something tighten in her chest. "Why am I here?" she whispered. The reflection appeared beside her, not in glass now, but in the room itself. "This is the life you asked for," it said. "The one you believed you did not deserve." She turned, anger rising. "This isn't better," she said. "This isn't what I envied." "No," the reflection agreed. "It's what you abandoned." She looked again, closer this time. She saw the small piece she had dismissed, the quiet routines she had called empty, the connections that hadn't dazzled, but had held. She remembered how she used to sit in silence without fearing it meant something was wrong. "How could I have walked away from this?" she asked. The reflection answered gently, "Because comparison teaches you to confuse difference with deficiency." She swallowed. "The rich were lonely," she said slowly. "The admirers were unseen. The love was consumed." "Yes," the reflection replied. "Each life you borrowed was misread." She turned toward it. "Then none of them were better." "They were complete," the reflection said, "in their own ways, with their own costs." She looked down at her younger self again. "And this one?" she asked. The reflection did not hesitate. This one was complete too. She sensed me before she turned. "You didn't envy their lives," I said quietly. "You envied the idea that somewhere else you would finally be finished." She nodded, tears threatening but not falling. I thought there was a version of me that didn't need to work this hard to belong. "There is," I said. "She's right there." She watched her younger self pause at a window, content to simply be. For the first time, she did not want to trade. She wanted to return. The room dissolved. She stood once more before the mirror. The reflection waited. "No more," she said. The mirror did not argue. She raised her hand and struck it. The glass cracked inward, spidering across the surface, not shattering the room, only the image that had kept asking her to leave. The reflection broke into fragments, each holding a borrowed life. Then they fell silent. She stood in the quiet afterward. Some losses remained, but the pull was gone. The measuring, standing elsewhere. She turned to me. "What do I do now?" she asked. I answered honestly. "You stay," I said, "and you learn to be grateful without comparing." She nodded, and for the first time in a long while, she was exactly where she belonged. The life she chose to keep. She did not wake to anything new. That too mattered. The room was the same one she had returned to so many times. Plain walls, familiar light, the quiet hum of a life that no longer tried to impress her. For the first time, she did not scan it for what was missing. She stayed. The days that followed did not repair her. They clarified her. Her voice still faltered at times. People still moved on without waiting. The mirror had not lied about the cost. But something else began to change, slowly, almost imperceptibly. She learned the difference between being unseen and being unpresent. Before, she had been leaving herself constantly, checking other lives for confirmation. Now, she stayed long enough to be felt. She began rebuilding. Small things first. She finished sentences even when no one was listening. She lingered in conversations that did not include her. She stopped leaving herself on what could have been and began standing on what it already is. People noticed, not all at once, and not dramatically. She did not notice me leaving, and that told me enough. Gratitude is not a feeling. It is a discipline. It is choosing to stop asking what else could have been and learning to finish what already is. One evening, she returned to the narrow room where the mirror had stood. Only the frame remained, empty. She did not fill the space. She did not cover it. She left it as it was, a reminder, not a temptation. She stood there a long moment, then turned away. She lived quietly after that, just here. And that was the life she chose to keep. Final word, the nameless. Many people search for the life they think they deserve. Most believe it is hidden somewhere else. Very few understand the truth. The life you deserve is the one you stop abandoning. And when you stop leaving, the world will finally learn where to find you.